What's up, y'all? Welcome back to the City Staying True to Yourself podcast, the podcast where we deep dive into a multitude of conversations and hope to inspire and empower all you out there listening authentically. I'm your host, Tex Wambui, and I'm thrilled to have you join us today. In each episode, we bring you thought-provoking discussions with remarkable individuals who have embraced their true selves and are making a positive impact in their fields. And the goal is to provide you with insights, understanding, wisdom, and practical tips that you can utilize in your own journey of self-discovery and personal growth. So today, it is a pleasure and an excitement to have our guest, and I am very honored to welcome our special guest today, Kemryn Lawrence. I call her Miss Lawrence. Sorry, she might be mad I mispronounce her name all the time. But she is the 35th Student Government Association Graduate President at Clark Atlanta University, and she is a passionate advocate for higher education policy and a trailblazer in the fight for justice through affirmative action as well. She brings a wealth of knowledge and a powerful perspective to our conversation today. So in this episode, we'll delve into her journey, exploring the significance of affirmative action in our society and the impact it has on equity and access to education. We'll also discuss her experiences, challenges, and aspirations for creating positive change in higher education landscape. So, get ready to be inspired as we have this discussion on this enlightening conversation. So, without further ado, let's welcome Miss Lawrence to the Stay True to Yourself podcast. Miss Lawrence, thank you for being here today. How are you doing?
Hey, I'm doing good. Every day that the sun shines, that's why I'm gonna love tomorrow.
Awesome. Well, thank you for joining us today on the podcast. And we just wanted to hear from you and appreciate you for taking time out of your day today to come on here and speak. I know this has been a long time overdue. So just to get started off, I know you said hi to everybody, but give them an introduction of who you are so they can know who you are and let them know, you not just gonna talk, you do the talking and the walking too. So let them know who you are.
Greetings, absolutely. I'm Kemryn Lawrence, a Master's of Public Administration student with a concentration in nonprofit leadership and management, hailing from the birthplace of Juneteenth, Galveston, Texas. I'm also serving as the White House representative and 35th Graduate President. I think I said that twice.
Yeah. So, thank you for sharing that. So, we just wanted to see in terms of your journey to where you're at today. What has inspired you so far to be on the current path you're on, and can you share any experiences that have shaped you who you are today, and just expand more in terms of personal values aligning with the work you do?
Okay, so this story of mine on my advocate journey, it started back in the 7th grade. We had a plethora of police killings, and I went to school in New Orleans, Louisiana, with teachers who were really devoted to making a change in their students' lives and keeping kids out of prison. And so during that journey, they taught us a lot about the school-to-prison pipeline and things of that nature. And so as a researcher today, I focus my energy a lot on breaking the K-12 school-to-prison pipeline, doing research on the K-12 school-to-prison pipeline, and just trying to find ways that we could create roadblocks in this vicious cycle. I also am the NAACP Education Chair of Georgia. My advocacy journey in that aspect with protesting, going to different things of that nature, started my freshman year of college. It was such an amazing opportunity to be able to meet so many like-minded individuals in the field of advocacy and people who really wanted to make a difference, but they look like me. So growing up in Texas, I really didn't see that aspect of Black people standing up in power for their people and no matter what. So when I got to Atlanta, it was just such a culture shock, but it was amazing, honestly.
I can definitely agree with you when it comes to the whole Atlanta place. It's definitely a culture shock and it's like a melting pot. It's like a bunch of different perspectives and backgrounds are there. So thank you, and I appreciate you for sharing that. And I just wanted to just ask you as well, in terms of your journey so far, what would you consider to be one of your biggest accomplishments in life? And then can you expand on that? And what challenges have you faced, as well as can you provide any lessons or insights that you have gained from these experiences?
So, guys, I also did not introduce myself as the founder of Project HBCU, which is Helping Beautiful.
Oh, yeah. Come on now.
501c.
Come on now.
I feel like that is one of my biggest accomplishments. Just taking the knowledge that I gained in 7th grade, 8th grade, and then transitioning that into a bigger aspect of things. It was like really amazing. I'm not gonna say I didn't think that I could do it, but I'm like, okay, I talk so much about school to prison pipeline and things of this nature. Why am I not in the community, like devoting all my time? And so I just do a lot with that, with my organization. My kids are really, really sweet. They're from 7th to 10th grade right now. I started a pilot program in New Orleans, Louisiana, for Project HBCU at Living School High School. And the kids that I were able to work with then actually just walked the stage a few months ago. So that was really great. So what was one of your questions before I started talking about Project HBCU?
Yeah, the question was, can you expand in terms of what challenges you faced in accomplishing this goal? And I just wanted to actually reiterate and reemphasize Project HBCU. I would definitely say it's something I am amazed by. I love the work that it does, and I'm hoping that soon I can volunteer. I know I was supposed to do it a few months ago, but just time sometimes doesn't align. But the thing is like, if you can expand on what challenges you faced in getting to that big accomplishment for yourself, and what are the lessons you learned and the insights you have gained from that experience?
Absolutely. So the biggest challenge that I probably faced with Project HBCU was getting my 501c3 completed. That has to be the biggest challenge because it's all that paperwork. However, the owner of Living School High School in New Orleans, Louisiana, was a 6th grade teacher of mine who has followed me throughout my journey and was like, definitely start your pilot program here. When I came to Atlanta, the challenge was getting volunteers to help with Project HBCU. That was probably one of our biggest challenges. And then when I expanded into Booker T. Washington High School, the first Black African-American high school in Atlanta, Georgia, we were able to speak to different students, like all the way from freshman year to seniors in high school. And all those students had different perspectives. I can say a big challenge with the seniors would be that we reached them too late to apply for these big scholarships.
I appreciate the work that you're doing. It definitely shows your ambition in the field of higher education advocacy, because this is something I can definitely say we resonate with together in terms of advocating for equitable ways for specifically communities I represent. And for me specifically, I am actually aiming to see how I can make higher educational equitable ways for the continent of Africa to have access to information and education, to how people can understand the historical relevance of how and why we need to unite together as people to appreciate that. So definitely full support of Project HBCU and the things that it's about to do. And I definitely appreciate you for sharing the challenges that you have experienced in it. And I remember we've had a few conversations on, how to kind of go along with this and establish it. So next thing I would just like for you to kind of expand more upon is in your journey and in your experiences, what is that one thing that makes you feel like you're different from anybody else? And if you can elaborate on that in terms of what is that unique quality or perspective that makes you stand out, and what are some of the challenges that you faced and lessons that you've learned that people who are listening, and also the youth that might be listening to this, can take away some pieces of information that can be vital to their development.
Okay, can you just do one part of that at a time? You know, I got ADHD. I don't even know why you playing.
Yeah. Can you share what is that one thing you feel that makes you different from anybody else?
So that one thing that makes me different from anybody else would be my genuineness. Any situation that I'm going into, probably wouldn't approach it if I wasn't genuinely curious or genuinely wanted to work with that person. So it's all about being genuine. A lot of people go into things with the wrong intentions, and that's why things aren't as successful for them. However, if you walk into things with a pure and genuine heart, then God will walk you through the rest of the way.
Amen to that. Amen to that. So that just warms my heart, and it's I'm hoping people who are out there listening to this can take away from that in terms of you actually understanding and appreciating your own uniqueness. And from that, now, is there a way you feel like this has allowed you to understand the essence of your own existence?
Okay, so you want to know when I really got like a deep, true understanding for that Project HBCU and helping unite, bridge the gap between higher education and K through 12, especially amongst Black students. It was probably, well, on a college level, when I really got serious about it, it was probably my sophomore year / junior year of of college. And that's because I was able to get this UNCF K through 12 education fellowship grant. And with that, I saw like the real need that really needs to be happening in our community. And then I probably just projected that further. I started getting excited about it. And so that's why I'm really passionate about it now. Because I feel like God really showed me my purpose through that internship. And so everything that I do now, like, builds upon that goal of, hey, we need to educate the future. The next generation needs to be educated, or this society will fall.
Which now sparks me into wanting to delve into the topic we are going to be further discussing and sharing that in terms of what has inspired you for your own journey. So now I would like to kind of delve into the next topic of conversation for today. What has sparked your passion for advocating for affirmative action or against affirmative action in the context of higher education?
So I was asked to do an interview with the Boston Globe regarding affirmative action and its decision that it would make or have on the enrollment at historically Black colleges and universities. And when I did a little deep dive in, because I only had a day and a half to do research, but when I did research, like, I dug so deep into affirmative action that I realized that affirmative action, if it's taken away, could be the first step into resegregation for Americans. Because affirmative action essentially is allowing Black people or people of color to have seats at the table.
Mm-hmm.
This affects education, employment, governmental access, and the personal sector. So when these companies are no longer allowed to have you, no longer required to have you work at their facilities, then where we work, you have to work at a Black company. How many Black Fortune 500 companies do we have?
Yeah.
So essentially, it's removing our seat from the table. There's no more diversity, equity, and inclusion. So I don't care about that because that came with affirmative action.
Gotcha. So it's very interesting you bring that up because I know in California they have Proposition 209. It's very interesting you bring that up, and now with what's currently going on with affirmative action, specifically to higher education, and in 2019, Harvard University, where there was a federal judge ruled in favor of Harvard University, stating that the university race-conscious admissions process did not violate civil rights law. So this case kind of attracted significant attention and debate regarding the role of affirmative action in college admissions. And then also in University of North Carolina, I think it was in 2020, where the Student for Fair Admissions filed a lawsuit against the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill, alleging that the university's admission policies unfairly discriminated against Asian American applicants. So this case raised questions about how affirmative action policies are implemented and their impact on different racial and ethnic groups. So it's very important to note that the landscape of affirmative action may always be evolving. And I remember, especially being a UC Davis alumni, it's something something I heard about with the University of California, I think, versus Bake or something in 1973 or some stuff like that, which ruled in favor of Bake because he decided to file a lawsuit against the University of California for the fact that he was not admitted to the school due to the fact that he had higher test scores than other applicants who were admitted due to the fact of meeting quotas. So I just was curious to just hear your opinion on how do you think affirmative action contributes to creating a more inclusive and diverse learning environment, and what are some of the potential benefits for students from underrepresented backgrounds?
So essentially, affirmative action gives, like I said before, gives students that seat at the table. However, they were only required to do affirmative action because they want to meet a standard quota. So actually, I don't feel comfortable with African Americans attending predominantly white institutions in the first place because they're only accepted conditionally because they have to meet a diversity quota. And that's in Ivy League institutions, prominent institutions in the South that are not Black. And that's why HBCUs were created. So honestly, I feel like this affirmative action decision positively affects HBCUs because now more Black students, and this is either way, because now more Black students will be able to attend historically Black colleges and universities, and they want to anyway. So honestly, this doesn't really affect the Black community for real in the educational aspect, higher education, because they can go to HBCUs, which would increase our funding and increase enrollment, which would increase housing because we need money and enrollment for housing in the way.
I'm glad you brought that point up because it makes me now wonder. So, don't you think though that would create an impact on HBCUs to where there's going to be more people wanting to go there? However, there's going to be the acceptance rates might be lower, right? Which I guess they say if a school has a low acceptance rates and people want to go there a lot, it seems that the school is selective. And also, I've heard some arguments of where that HBCUs were created for the dire need of ensuring that people who are discriminated against going to other schools can go to HBCUs. Do you think that will create an impact or cause any type of dispute or conflict to where people are going to feel some level now of discrimination now, not based upon, I guess, their identity, but based upon their scores? Do you feel like that's going to come in play in terms of that?
Okay, so the only school I can speak for is Parkland Lynch University right now, because I have not done research on admissions for 2023. However, for this upcoming school year, we had around 37,000 applicants. We only accepted 17,000 applications. only 1,400 students were admitted, and only 1,306 of them. Only 1,036 of them will get married.
Gotcha. So, I definitely see what you mean in terms of Clark Atlanta. I am a current student at Clark Atlanta as well. We're both in the same program right now, and we know this is what we study. Actually, we study the policy, public administration, in terms of how different agencies and departments and institutional policies and all that stuff. And we're analyzing policies and all this stuff. And I can definitely see affirmative action can definitely have both direct and indirect effects on historically Black colleges and universities. And some of the ways I see that affirmative action can impact HBCUs is, enrollment and diversity, right? And I think that some of these policies within affirmative action can benefit HBCUs in the enrollment and diversity area, because they might promote diversity, increase access to education opportunities for HBCUs now, because there's, like as you said, more funding can be potentially directed to there, because HBCUs are traditionally they serve as institutions that primarily cater to African American students due to the historical discrimination and injustice the community has faced within the continent of the United States, and you might say elsewhere else, but specifically this matter. And I would definitely say that the implementation of affirmative action can lead to increased enrollment of students from diverse backgrounds at HBCUs, contributing to a more diverse student body. Now, the thing is, though, is the question that I am still curious about is the funding and their resources, right? Even though you might have a higher pipeline of people coming in or applying or desiring to go to HBCUs, because they know if they apply to a specific school, the likelihood of them getting accepted there to the other one is lower, which is kind of still the sense right now, even with affirmative action in play. Do you think that affirmative action can have implications for funding and resources available to HBCUs?
Well, I definitely think that it's a class that should be proposed when we even have this whole affirmative action talk. Because say that affirmative action, it stays the same, like, yes, you have affirmative action in school. Okay, well, now we need to add a class that says, because we still have affirmative action in school, and even if we lose affirmative action in school, there's a certain amount of funds and money that needs to be directed into these HBCUs, because they will be serving a higher amount of students. And on a governmental level, schools that are bigger have to receive more money. So then we put a different clause in there that says, hey, when we generate 2% off the back end, and so that in the future, when our kids don't know how to do this, or this generation somehow fails in teaching them how to maintain HBCUs, then they're still generating money. So it's really about the laws and policies in place. So if the laws change, then maybe we have a chance.
So what is your take on the current ongoing conversation with the Supreme Court Justice on affirmative action?
Give me a little bit more information about the case.
The current case that's going on, the one that they're about to provide an opinion on, I think this month,
Harvard, right? It's
Harvard,
right?
the one about Harvard, I think University of North Carolina.
And I think the Harvard one too, right?
Yeah, I think so. I'm not sure about that, but yeah. So, what's your take on that? Because I don't really know much about that, so I would love to, if you can educate me and educate whoever's listening on this in terms of what are some things to undertake into consideration when it comes to these different policies.
So, like I said, we have to be looking at the clauses that are in the policy. So say that this affirmative action decision is being challenged and they say, hey, no more affirmative action in school. Then now we have to say, well, dang, imagine that HBCUs don't. And there are HBCUs that have great PhD programs. But say that there's an HBCU that doesn't have a good PhD program and the funding packages aren't good because, you know, they're PhD students and that's what it'll offer that good amount of fellowship. Well, then they're going to want to go to a PWI. And then these clauses are being taken out of PWIs and say, hey, you don't have to provide diversity, equity, and inclusion in your school. So then Black students stop being accepted into fully funded or funded PhD programs. So we just have to, honestly, it's a watching game. It's a playing game with students. I'm a part of this organization called New Georgia Project. We'll be going up there soon to go stand in front of the Supreme Court and let them know, like, hey, we see what you're doing, but let's come up with a decision that's good for these Black students in America. Because heard from a lot of PWIs and these white companies, HBCU students possess a lot of talent, more talent than they're producing at their white institutions. So honestly, right now, they're trying to partner with us before we start taking over, essentially.
Definitely, and I would definitely like to echo what you just said in terms of the New Georgia Project. It's definitely an organization that I appreciate for the work they do, and I had the honor and pleasure to going with y'all to DC for the student loan debt cancellation at the Supreme Court, which was a fantastic experience to just see the level of advocacy that the people and have for the purpose of actually we're practicing what we are, the rights we're given in a very comprehensive way and collaborative way. And in regards to the competition now with the predominantly, I guess, white institutions as so-called PWIs, you know, while affirmative action does aim to promote equal access to educational opportunities, it can also create competition between HBCUs and PWIs. So I would like to hear now, can you expand now in terms of affirmative action policies at PWIs? Do you think they may result in increased recruitment to enroll more diverse students, potentially drawing some African American students or other communities away from HBCUs?
Well, inevitably, you can't get everybody. Everybody is not the same. Everybody was raised different. So, and everybody doesn't know the information that you and I know about affirmative action and the real story behind these white institutions creating diversity and inclusion programs. We know the real story. So I think it's spreading the knowledge. So once someone is being spread the knowledge and you say, and you tell them like, hey, you know, you're going to this predominantly white institution. And no, let me state this right now. I do not knock any education because my PhD program will be from a predominantly white institution.
Hey, as I would like to emphasize again, UC Davis, she might be coming there to y'all. I don't know. Let me not speak further. I'm trying to get her to be an Aggie as well.
Look, we will see. I was looking at UC Irvine for a little bit.
I don't know them. All I know is Aggie pride out here. All I know is Aggie pride.
You're funny. But yes, I do not knock any, anybody receiving the funding. If you have to go to a PWI, then go get your education from that PWI. Make sure that they fully funded too. And you shouldn't be going to a school just because there's a certain amount of Black people and a certain amount of white people at a school. You should be going to the school because you see your interests align with that in the future and you want to continue to breathe there, or you want to foster connections from that school. That's what college is about, creating those networking connections. However, don't knock your chance at a PWI, and there shouldn't be any competition between HBCUs and PWIs because we already know who's number one. LOL, I'm kidding. But get your education.
I don't know if you're actually kidding, but anyways, I definitely see your point on that, because there's definitely, a lot of conversation behind the role of HBCUs in post-affirmative action America. And I think there was a recent article that was published. I don't know if it was the Politico or I think it was on NBC News. Don't judge me for the source of my information, whoever's listening to this. But I just ended up running into this article, and it was a very interesting article talking about how leaders at historical Black colleges and universities have thoughts on how overturning race-conscious admissions would have a dire impact on higher education. So, it's a very interesting conversation and topic because if for me personally, if I was in the Supreme Court and you were asking me what's my take on affirmative action decisions, definitely, yes, I would say this. My opinion would definitely be something that will cause controversy because where I stand is this. First, I would look at the individual goals in terms of when it comes to attaining higher education. There's a story behind why somebody would desire to attain higher education. And each story should be assessed by their own story and not compared to other stories. Now, it's completely understanding that we have limited space within higher education due to the fact that sometimes you can't go to school because you can't afford it. Higher education is also a business, We can't really we can't deny that factor that college is as well. It's its own business. It's a business that is in favor of trying to build society in a formal way by providing ideologies that can help continue how people think and stimulate ourselves in understanding and coming to a collective agreement that can allow us to live as humans, which I don't want to lead this to me in terms of how I perceive this with my whole Pan-Africanist ideal or all this nonsense. I don't want to get into that right now. But what I would definitely say is that the intellectual exchange and perspectives that affirmative action can foster, it can foster an environment of intellectual exchange and a diversity of perspectives at HBCUs, right? And it can also increase diversity through bringing together students from various racial and ethnic backgrounds, contributing to a richer learning experience, and fostering cross-cultural understanding. So, kind of just wanted to hear from you, Madame Presidente, okay? I would like for you now are there any specific initiatives or strategies you think that should be implemented or advocating measures for us to further promote the goals of affirmative action or against affirmative action? What do you think? And first, let the people know where you stand when it comes to affirmative action before you provide them with the next steps of implementing these strategies and initiatives.
So where I stand when it comes to affirmative action is great in society when it comes to us having that seat at the table that we historically have not been provided. And either way, for HBCUs, the affirmative action decision would be good. We just might have to accept more non-people of color, and that's completely fine too, because it is what it is. However, my stand on affirmative, that's my stand on affirmative action. And then what was your second question?
Say that again?
I said that was my stance on affirmative action. What was the follow-up question after that?
Oh, what are some of your specific initiatives or strategies you are implementing or advocating for to further promote the goals of affirmative action?
To further promote the goals of affirmative action, I'm just partnering with a lot of nonprofit organizations that help talk about affirmative action. I spread the knowledge to my kids. I don't have children. I'm talking about the kids of my nonprofit. Just being very vocal on my stance on affirmative action. I frequently travel to our state capital in Georgia where we go to school and let them know, hey, His decision is, this is not okay. I think the biggest strategy is just spreading the knowledge. Once you spread the knowledge, then everything else will follow.
Definitely. I definitely think, with great knowledge, there comes great pursuits and developments in what we believe in. And this is like one of my last questions when it comes to this topic for you to kind of expand on. And you have the platform on this in terms of how you can now inspire our next generation in terms of, you work with Project HBCU. You're a leader in the community, and you're the 35th Student Government Association president at Clark Atlanta University, and you are now the person representing and making these decisions for the student body. So how can individuals who are passionate about supporting affirmative action contribute to the cause and make a meaningful impact in the communities? And also shout out to you for being the face of it by being featured in the Boston Globe, as you had shared to me recently. So how can you inspire individuals who are passionate about supporting affirmative action?
I encourage you to go to your state capitals, go to your mayor's offices, go to your commissioners. We need to show them that we care about this, that we're in the community about this. And if you want peace and justice, then our demands need to be met. We oftentimes stray away from our demands being met because they give us a little bit and not let us go the whole way. I want y'all to encourage the masses. Essentially.
100% to that. And I echo that with you. And in this journey of advocating for higher education initiatives in terms of supporting the communities we represent. And for anybody who wants to be a hater, come at me. I'm always ready to defend where I stand. So if you feel some type of way about affirmative action, ain't no hate in it. Just let us know how you feel so we can classify you into a specific box. Just like there's a way, people have been trying to classify communities and use it for injustices towards us. So I'll provide that just to you. Anyways.
Guess what? So I heard a comment the other day, and it was like, why do you fight so hard for our community? Like, you don't want equality? You don't want us to be equal in society? And my thing is, how can you say that someone doesn't want us to be equal in a society that was never made for us? We are strategically put behind every line created. And they're still wondering, well, how? How did you get this far? It says there's people like me and Tex in the community helping.
Yeah. And I definitely think that, I remember when I first learned about the difference between equality and equity, I was like so confused to where I was just not curious anymore to want to learn more about it. But what I could definitely say is that in my pursuit for more knowledge, as you were saying, it's important to keep learning more. And now the position I'm in, the goal is I would love now to do, advancing equitable access to higher education, where I bridge the African American history, international administration, and for me specifically, the community I also represent is the East African area and the development of that, and see how there can be a comprehensive overview of assessing the nature and feasibility of how we can advance this higher education. Because I think that bridging African American history with the African continent, specifically in East Africa, for me, since that's where I am coming from, right? I think that this will strive to foster cultural understanding and create opportunities for mutual benefit. And for some reason, I feel like I wish the Supreme Court justices or these whole decisions when it comes to affirmative action can take in consideration the fact that this country cannot thrive without immigrants.
Absolutely.
So it is important to foster those cultural understandings and create opportunities for mutual benefit. Because if you try to deplete these immigrants in the country they're coming into, which is your own country, what do you think they're going to do the same thing? This reminds me, remember when we had to do that project? I think it was in the public policy class.
Yeah.
We had to do our presentations on a policy brief.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. You did the ESA Act, the one that was
Early Student Succeeds Act of 2015.
You did a policy brief on that, and I did the policy brief I think on the what did I do it on? Oh, Tariff Act 1930, and this makes me think about like retaliations that had happened during that time with that specific Tariff Act. Do you feel? I want to hear your opinion on this. Do you feel like affirmative action would create some form of retaliation from other countries when it comes to employment, education, or just things that have to do with those different institutions? Do you think other countries will retaliate towards Americans?
Absolutely, because when you think about it, in the United States of America, no one here looks the same. There's not one race here. There's not one culture here. This country has the most mix of religions and races more than any other country. And a lot of our students that come here to pursue education at these higher institutions are coming from other countries on exchange programs. And so this diversity and inclusion act thing is like saying like, hey, we don't have to include you anymore. And now their culture is being put out. There'll be a lot of retaliations on America. And I'm actually scared to see it.
Yeah, I'll definitely say. And I think what you just said in terms of like the whole most diverse, I think that yes, the United States is a place where a lot of people come to. But I would definitely just, for anybody who's listening out there, that those fact checkers and everything, yes, I understand that that Uganda might be probably the most ethnic diversity place or something like. I don't know. I know it's a country in Africa, but when it comes to ethnically or all that stuff that they consider. But anyways, I definitely agree on that, and I definitely feel like it's our duty as the future and the people who are going to be in the front lines of this or behind the scenes for this. It is our duty to kind of have that interdisciplinary approach in combining public administration, international administrations, and policy research to allow us to develop effective solutions to these societal problems. And one last thing I would definitely say, it definitely is important for state and level policies when in regards to affirmative action policies continue to be a topic of debate at the state level. Some states have implemented or strengthened affirmative action policies, while others have taken steps to ban or limit the consideration of race in college admissions. And I think that these state level actions reflect ongoing discussions about the role and legality of affirmative actions. So I think it's going to be something that definitely continue going. And in regards to like HBCUs, one thing I can definitely see is that if I was to look at it from a big lens, is that the alumni and professional networks, the impact of affirmative actions on HBCUs can extend, beyond the campus environment, where graduates of HBCUs who have benefited from affirmative action policies may go on to build diverse professional networks and contribute to various sectors of society, creating opportunities for collaboration and advancement. So definitely some things that definitely see when it comes to that topic of conversation. So now getting back to, about you, because we are on the Stay and True to Yourself podcast, where it's more about your journey and how your journey has shaped you as who you are. So could you share in terms of, do you have any works, publications, projects, or content out there that you are working on, have worked on, or you're proud to do, and kind of provide more details about it?
Right now, I'm working on a publication about the My Journey to College program, which is implemented at UCLA. I'm a UCLA Summer Steer Fellow, which grants me a full ride PhD program. And right now, I'm working on that publication and it's surrounding around the K through 12 school to prison pipeline and how kids from eighth grade are transitioning. I mean, the eighth grade are transitioning into high schools and how that transition can have an effect on their GPA and what factors contribute to that entire GPA thing.
Awesome. Well, I look forward to seeing that and you having that available to people. And before we we come to an end here, I wanted to know, is there any last words you would like to share? Any quotes you would like to share to people that are inspiring for you or you would like for people to utilize in their daily life?
I can say Ubuntu, and that means I am because we are. And without you, there is no me. Without the shared knowledge between humans, there is no community. So just continue to spread the word, spread your truth to everybody, and just help make this society the best that it can be.
Awesome. That is definitely reminds me of Ubuntuism. And that brings us to an end on this insightful episode of the Staying True to Yourself podcast. And I want to extend my sincere gratitude to our incredible guest, Ms. Lawrence, for sharing her knowledge, experiences, and passion with us today. Ms. Lawrence, your dedication to higher education policy and your commitment to making a difference in our justice system through affirmative action initiatives and being a representative and the voice for the masses is truly inspiring. And thank you so much for shedding light on these important issues and for you providing us with an empowering message to stay true to ourselves in pursuit of a more equitable society. So as we wrap it up, I encourage our listeners.
Thank you so much for the opportunity. And I just appreciate you continue doing great in your community and staying true to yourself and helping our community just gain deeper understanding, because that's essentially what this podcast is doing. And I appreciate the opportunity.
Definitely. So I encourage our listeners out there to reflect on the key takeaways from today's conversation and think about what steps you can take to contribute to positive change within your own spheres and how you can advocate for equity and access in education and support initiatives like Affirmative Action or future initiatives that Ms. Lawrence will be having. So be on the lookout for that. And remember, staying true to yourself means aligning your values and actions. So before we part ways, Ms. Lawrence, is there anything you would like to share with our listeners?
Connect with me on LinkedIn.
Say that again?
Connect with me on LinkedIn. My name is spelled Kenryn, last name Lawrence, Lawrence. I look forward to hearing from y'all.
If y'all heard that, connect with her. If y'all need me to connect y'all with her, let me know. She is awesome. She's doing great work. And I look forward to seeing her this summer in LA soon, hopefully, maybe. And I look forward to making this impact we're going to do in higher education policy in Atlanta and nationally and globally. So if you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe to our podcast, share with your friends, family, and colleagues, or your dog. And your support means the world to us and helps us reach more people with these meaningful conversations. So thank you all for tuning in. Until next time, keep staying true to yourself and embracing the power within you to make a positive impact. Take care and remember to always be authentic in everything you do. This is your host, Tex Wambui, and this is Ms. Lawrence. Are you signing off? Yes, she is. And wishing you a wonderful day. And remember, each day is an opportunity to pursue your dream and seize the day. Thank you all for listening. Peace out.